33rd program of the Wisdom for Living series of monthly programs initiated by our president, Mr. Tim Boyd. Mr. Tim Boyd is the 8th president of the Theosophical Society over 150 years, and he has been in his position for about 11 to 12 years now. He has been doing a great job with respect to even this kind of a program was his initiation only. So this will reach a lot of people either in person or through the YouTube media. This 33rd program, the speaker is Dr. Akansha Jaiswal, and she is going to talk about the topic, Are Humans a Resource? Just to give a small introduction about the Theosophical Society, where we have all assembled, I'll tell you how I joined the Theosophical Society, so that will take care of the introduction portion also. So everything has a purpose. Even this has a purpose. Why we are all here has a purpose. See, the purpose of the Theosophical Society is to form a universal, that is, the founders believed, and their vision and their objects were to find a Theosophical Society wherein it will promote universal brotherhood without the distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, and color, to study comparative religions, and to study the inherent powers of human beings. These are the three broad objects, and this is a vision. The mission is to take it forward towards the vision. I think that's why we are all here towards getting into a form of a oneness. So here we have Akansha Jaiswal, and I'll tell you how I joined the society. I just forgot in between. In 2010, September 12th, I came here with my brother-in-law, and I just tagged along with him. He had come to meet the treasurer of the Theosophical Society, one Miss Keshwar Dastur, and he had some work with her, and they were talking, and I was keenly listening, and I was very absorbed by the objects of the society when I read these three objects, which was laid in the main board, marble board there in the headquarters. So I was very curiously thinking about that, and with respect to the background, I was so keen in doing something for the society. So that's why when I expressed my interest to Keshwar Dastur, and she asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm an engineer, and I think I can provide some kind of a service. She asked me how long. I said a few hours a day. Then she took me to the president immediately, and then I met the 7th president of the Theosophical Society, Mrs. Radha Banier, who was the president of the society for about 34 years in one go. And when I met her, when she was in her late 80s, then she asked me a lot of questions. I expressed my interest to join the society and serve the society in some way or the other, because doing altruism and philanthropy was a style of my conducting my life all the way. So I was very keenly interested in joining the society, and she asked me this question. What made you leave your lucrative job? I said, I am fed up of earning money. Enough is enough. I would like to do service in the society. And this place and the Ramakrishna Math, where I was already doing some work, I said, this is another place where I can share my experiences on a honorary role. Then she told me when you can join. I said, the next day. The next day I joined here as the superintendent of maintenance, and it's about 15 years past, and I've been doing some work or the other. And this is 3 years past since I've been a coordinator here for this Wisdom for Living series of monthly programs. And during my talk with the Theosophical Society president, then late Mrs. Radha Banier, she was asking me about the three objects. I said, yes, I am abiding with the three objects. So I became a member immediately, an Adair Lodge member. And then I asked her this question. In the headquarters, if you have been there, there is a sort of a writing there. There is no religion higher than truth. I asked her, what does it mean? Then she told me, this is for you to find out. So this is where I'll just give a small intro about Akansha Jaiswal, because her daughter has a program. I would like to rush through the whole thing. Otherwise, I would have taken another 5 minutes. Mr. Anup Jaiswal is my best friend, and his daughter-in-law is Akansha Jaiswal. And I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Anup Jaiswal, Neelam Jaiswal. Manu Jaiswal is a professor of IIT Physics Department. He has also got a doctorate. Everybody is a doctorate. Mostly, I think, in this whole hall, I think I'm the only person who is not a doctorate. Lines about Akansha Jaiswal. Dr. Akansha Jaiswal is a passionate researcher and teacher in the area of human resource and organizational behavior at the Loyola Institute of Business Administration, LIBA, it is called as, in Chennai, India, Nungumbakam. She pursued a doctoral degree at the Department of Management Studies in Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Madras. Her thesis on workforce diversity and employee well-being won the Best PhD Thesis Award in the year 2018. She is a double gold medalist from LIBA, that is Postgraduate Diploma in Business Management, in 2011. She has published many research papers in top international peer-reviewed journals. She is an expert in both qualitative and quantitative research methods and is a resource person at various faculty development programs and management development programs conducted both nationally and internationally. Her research interests include artificial intelligence and HR, diversity and inclusion, employee well-being, and future of work. She has been presenting research papers every year at renowned management conferences, including the Academy of Management, British Academy of Management, and Indian Academy of Management. She has won several Best Paper Awards and serves as the editorial board member of international journals. She has also been a consultant to many companies for HR initiatives that deliberate on how to make work and workplaces fulfilling and meaningful for people. Her introduction is incomplete without mentioning that she is a passionate singer and a mother of two lovely kids. One kid is here. The other kid is too small to come. Akansha Jaiswal, please come.
Good evening to all of you present over here. It's indeed an honor to stand before all of you today at the Theosophical Society. And I would like to thank Mr. Tim Boyd, the President, and Madam, the entire team. Special thanks to Ramkumar Uncle for having me here. I think I must thank my family, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my husband for an unconditional support and encouragement throughout. The spark of my life, my biggest cheerleader, Swasti. My parents who are not here because they're taking care of my son Savitur, who incidentally, if he was here, then he would have pulled down every possible thing at the Theosophical. I must definitely thank all of you for finding time from your busy schedules and coming over for the talk. So thank you very much, all of you. For the past 15 years, I have been associated with human resources, popularly called as HR. I'm not sure how popular it is because as my friends in the industry tell me, HR is probably the most hated or the disliked department in any organization. And through this 15 years, I have examined human resources both as a generalist as well as a specialist. As a generalist, I have looked at the entire employee life cycle, starting from attracting candidates to onboarding them in an organization after hiring, then looking at their training and development needs, the performance management and appraisal, compensation benefits, their policies, and occupational safety. This is a broad view of HR. As a specialist, I have also looked at the impact of artificial intelligence on human resources, HR analytics, future of work, diversity and inclusion, and employee well-being. So I love the domain of HR, and I can talk about HR for probably a very long time. But I must admit that this is the first time I'm uncomfortable talking about HR. And the reason is, one, I'm standing before a very, very learned audience. Second is, I have to critically analyze this domain of HR. So long I was talking all nice things about HR, but this talk made me to critically analyze the realities of HR, and I took a very objective lens as an outsider, what is HR, and I'm going to share some of my views around are humans a resource. So on a day-to-day basis, we hear a lot of things about HR from working people. Some of you may be a part of any organization or corporate, or some of you may have worked before in organizations, or some of you may be having relatives who are working in companies. So what are some of the things that we commonly hear from people? For instance, somebody is working for a large global multinational corporation. Somebody's got a new job in an Indian company. Somebody is working in a very fascinating startup. Somebody's got a promotion recently. Someone is going for a trade summit, let's say to Denmark. Somebody is relocating from Chennai to Delhi. So these are some of the popular things that we hear commonly from people who are known to us, or it may have happened to us as well, as we are part of organizations. On the other hand, we also very commonly hear about people being laid off from organizations. We also hear about somebody who's under tremendous amount of stress because of work. Somebody who has committed a suicide because of work-related pressures and so on. So these are some of the common things that we often hear from working people. And more recently, we have seen that there are a lot of leading companies across the globe that have announced and they have laid off a significant part of their workforce, including big brands such as Nestle, Amazon, Bosch, Dell, Accenture, Intel, and of course the list goes on and on. There are many other companies. I think every day when we open the newspaper, and especially I have subscribed to Economic Times HR, definitely there is one or two news which is around layoff of people. And these numbers are not a handful or not hundreds in hundreds. These numbers run into thousands and thousands. And of course, recently Amazon has been announcing a lot of layoffs, and it's up to 30,000 people that they have planned to lay off. And Amazon probably would be the biggest in terms of number when it comes to layoff historically. This year itself, when we talk about the global technological industry, the tech industry, 202,000 people have been laid off. And by the end of this year, 2025, the projected number is 244,000. So it's a huge number when we talk about one industry itself. Coming to India, there are a lot of Indian companies also which have been conducting layoffs for the past 2 years. And most of the big names that we talk about, TCS, Infosys, HCL, whichever company that we can proudly say that it is an Indian company, is also getting into this layoff kind of a scenario. And again, these numbers run into thousands. For instance, Infosys has laid off 25,000 employees, Wipro also 25,000 employees, right? So the numbers are really huge. What do the companies say when they lay off people? So from the company's point of view, they say, for instance, Amazon says that 90 days of full pay and the benefits are available to the employees who are laid off, and they also have access to internal resources while they are away from the work. But look at the laid off employee's perspective. This person is sleeping, and at 5 a.m. in the morning, one email comes that you are fired. Right, so the person says an in-person communication would have been better as compared to receiving an email at 5 a.m. in the morning. And this is verbatim. I think Amazon has done a very poor job of communicating with everyone regarding our benefits, stock options, severance package, and job placement assistance. So the questions arise, how are layoffs being managed? And in such a critical point of time for a particular person, how do organizations actually provide assistance? So this is my favorite. This is Dilbert by Scott Adams. I'll just give a few pause over here so that you can read. And they very proudly say that layoffs prove that management is capable of turning things around. You feel more optimistic about it, and now you're fired. Another one is being evil used to mean something. And so now people are saying that, okay, cut my salary by 10%, but don't lay me off. Right? So this is the stance of organizations these days. And why are so many layoffs happening? If you look at the trend, it has largely started 2023 onwards. And of course, our friend artificial intelligence may be playing a big role over here when it comes to layoffs. Of course, technology has been there for many years, and there have been many phases where technological revolutions have happened, but currently the phase in which we are is something which is absolutely exponential. And a lot of companies, when they are laying off people, they are giving corporate restructuring as an answer, or we are trying to reinvent our organizational outlook, we are trying to restructure, and so on. So these are some of the excuses that organizations are giving, or the reasons they are giving for layoffs. But we cannot deny that AI is one of the major reasons for the layoff, especially because in the past few years there has been immense amount of progress in the areas of generative AI and agentic AI. A lot of people who are losing their jobs are largely at the lower and the middle level of the organizations, because they are the same people who created these AI apps. Look at the irony. They are the people who programmed, coded, tested the applications, and now when these applications are running very well, the same AI is replacing these people. And don't be surprised, this is also coming up to the top management level. It was just yesterday that Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, has announced that probably very soon AI may replace him. So AI, if Sundar Pichai says that AI can replace him, who are you and I? So this brings us to the question for today, which is, are humans a resource? The term resource means something that is ready for use, means to an end, use and just throw or dispose of, right? So, but this view is not new. If you talk about the wars, when kings led the wars, soldiers were also resources for the kings, right? Just use and throw. So my father-in-law was sharing one story with me, which is documented by the great historian and thinker Leo Tolstoy, wherein in 1904, when the Tsar of Russia declared a war against Japan, during that time, the Tsar asked, how much of money are we going to spend on the war? And the nobles and everybody started calculating, discussion, deliberation happened as to how much money will be spent on the war. And they told Tsar about the amount of money that would be spent in the war. The next question he asked was, how many soldiers are estimated to die in the war? And somebody said maybe 50 to 60,000 soldiers will die in the war. Without even blinking, he said, proceed. Right? So we are living in a scenario where, whether it is the wars or it is today's organizational times, which is nothing less than a war, we are only equating humans to resources such as machinery, land, equipments, and so on. Whatever else we are using, say for example, the chair, equal to a resource. Chair is also a resource. So humans are also spoken in the same breath as machinery and other resources which are used by the organizations. And if we look out for our job offer letter, there is one term that our eyes always search for, which is called as CTC, cost to company. I find this phrase very derogatory for human beings. Cost to company. I pause here, please reflect. Humans are nothing but cost to any company, right? But I may be too harsh to talk like this, because of course corporations exist for a reason, and primarily because there are needs of people. We have our needs and wants. There are problems that corporations or companies solve, and that is the reason organizations came into existence. So they create either a product or a service or both. Products could be anything like a laptop, a projector, a microphone, a chair, car, what we use. Services could be something like a haircut or a legal advice that you need, a tax advice, and so on, consultancy. So definitely corporations are there because they are either creating a product or a service. And they also boost economic growth. Without organizations, we can't think of having a good economic growth, and they also provide so much of employment opportunities to people. So definitely organizations are not here for a bad reason. And for any organization to sustain and survive, it needs money. And 50% of organizations fail, that is, they die within 5 years of their initiation, and the remaining out of the remaining 80% tend to fail in the next 10 years. So the survival rate of organizations is very, very low, and they definitely need money and they need to make profits in order to survive beyond that 10 years period and establish themselves for a continuous period. But the problem arises when we talk of profit maximization. Profit maximization at the expense of, as you can see in the picture, profit maximization at the expense of the planet and the people, right? So if our profits are maximized to such an extent that Mother Earth is getting affected, global warming we are talking of, climate change, pollution. Also, when we talk of profits having an impact on people, providing people with poor working conditions, there is a huge amount of disparity when we talk about the average worker, what he or she earns as compared to what the CEO of any organization earns. So in a recent report by the Economic Policy Institute, they have found that the disparity of what a typical average worker earns versus the CEO is 281 times. 281. That's the huge amount of disparity that we are talking about. Also, in terms of silent layoffs, inhumane treatment of people. So when profits are maximized at the expense of the planet or the people, then obviously there is a problem in the maximization of profits. But again, my favorite Dilbert says that companies are designed to maximize stockholder values, not employees' happiness. Right? So this is of course Cadbert, he's called as the evil HR director. So one of the costliest weddings which the world has seen, this wedding of Ambani was much more expensive as compared to the wedding of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, right? 5,000 crores INR was spent on the wedding. And this, of course, some people say it was Ambani's money. He spent it on his children. Everybody has the right to spend the money they have the way they like on their children. Who's there to question? While at the other end of the spectrum, people said there is a huge amount of disparity, economic disparity. You live in Mumbai and you see the difference where you have immense amount of wealth being displayed. At the same time, you have tragic poverty being displayed in the same city, and people were not very happy because their day-to-day life in Mumbai was getting disrupted because of the wedding. And there's a Time magazine article that says that currently the economic disparity in India is worse as compared to what it was in the British Raj. Right? And this wedding was a testament to that. So groomsmen in the wedding got, each one of them got a watch worth 2 crores of rupees, each one of them. Right? and employees of Reliance got a box of Haldiram Aloo Bhujia Save, light chivda, so taking care of the health of employees, and some sweets, right? So even the employees said that one, it was a misplaced priority. It was conflicting with the business goals of Reliance, as well as the amount of money that was spent on the gifts for employees was a very, very small fraction of 5,000 crores which was spent on the wedding. So this is the employee's perspective. Of course, after the wedding, entire India went and paid because the Jio recharge prices went up, right? So all of us have paid for the wedding of Anant Ambani. And just the next month, we start hearing about layoffs at Reliance. 42,000 employees were laid off from Reliance in the next 2 to 3 months. Now, if this money, that is 5,000 crores, was not spent at that point in time, then it would have retained 42,000 employees for 3 years. So, this makes us to think the situation in which we are living, and another very popular term in the corporate is CSR, corporate social responsibility. So, how are we looking at massive layoffs being equated to this huge amount of personal indulgence, right? It's a question that we need to think of. And coming back, I'm not against Ambani or the wedding and the money that they've spent, but look at the impact it has had on the employees, right? Laying off 42,000 people and the kind of gifts they have given to the employees. So is it just about the term human resources over here? Because Shakespeare, in his very famous play Romeo and Juliet, says, what's in a name? Why are you cribbing so much about human resource? What's in the name? That which you call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So is the discussion over here just about the word HR, or is it about a very famous movie, My Fair Lady, which is based on the play by George Bernard Shaw, Pygmalion? It's also about the Pygmalion effect. It's a psychological effect which states that if you call somebody by some name, that person starts proving you right. And this is an example which I give in my classes. It's called as Pygmalion effect or self-fulfilling prophecy. If we tell our employees or our children, you are dumb, you are stupid, you are good for nothing, they will prove us right. At the other side, if we say you are smart and you have the potential to do well and you can perform well, you have the capability, they will prove us right. So therefore, the term human resources, if it is used as a resource in sense of money, machinery, equipment, then the word becomes highly transactional in nature. It's just a quid pro quo, right? Give and take. I work for you and you give me money. So I'd like to share some stories and anecdotes which have been shared with me by people known to me. Across, of course, a period of 10 to 15 years, I have picked up some stories. So one person went and used the access card to get into the building of the company, and her access card did not work. So she immediately called up the IT team and said, my card is not working. So the IT team says that we have been told to block your card. Then when she called up her manager, the manager just says over phone, your services are no longer needed. So this is just, So this is just a way to tell employee that you are laid off. Another was, like I shared some time back, an example where people who are developing the AI applications are themselves being replaced by AI. So in a similar scenario, there is an organization we are using very often, services of this organization we use very often. So a particular app was developed by a team of 5 people. And after some time, the manager calls up one lady who was heading that project and says, I'm going to fire your entire team except you. Okay, I'm going to fire your entire team except you, but you can retain one person from that team. whoever you like. Right? So this was a very difficult situation for that lady. Right? Finally, I think because she was very ethical, she herself left the company instead of making that difficult choice of choosing one person from her team, despite knowing the unethical thing that the organization was doing. A very harrowing experience which was shared by another person regarding the pink slip. So he reached his office on a regular time and set up his things, his lunch bag and other belongings he set up, and he was getting ready to work for that day. And suddenly he gets a call from the manager and asking him to meet. So he thought it must be a follow-up conversation from the previous evening and it's a normal day. So he goes inside the office of the manager where the HR is also waiting, and he's just told that again your services are no longer needed and you can leave. Very few exchange of words. He was very surprised what has happened all of a sudden, and there was no reason that was provided to him why all of a sudden he's being told this. Before even he could gather himself, there were two people who escorted him from a different exit. And there was a taxi waiting for him. He said, I need to go back to my desk and collect my belongings. There was no choice given to him. Two people escorted him out of the office from another exit. There was a taxi waiting for him with his belongings, which few minutes back he had just set up. Right? So, very, very painful examples and experiences. And nowadays people have of course started putting up things on the social media, WhatsApp messages of conversations between them and their employer related to a leave that they might need for an uncle's funeral or for having a headache, whatever it is. And generally managers are responding saying, if you have a headache, take a pill, don't be a crybaby, come to work, and so on. Now, of course, we don't know whether the employee really had a headache or was just trying to exhaust the medical leaves that he or she had. So, we're not getting into that, but it's just about lack of empathy. One of my students shared this example with me where he was working for a firm in Mumbai, and drinking was very common after the office hours. And he started consuming alcohol so much that he became an addict within a couple of months. And it became so much that in the evenings he would go back to his flat and drink. In the mornings, on the weekend when he got up, he wouldn't even, and this is verbatim from him, I'm telling you. He said, I wouldn't even go and brush my teeth, but I would just grab the bottle. He became an absolute addict. And then he reached out to his manager. He said, I feel I have a problem. Please help me. He himself went to the manager and shared that I'm going through a very tough time. I want to give up alcohol, but I'm not able to do that. Please help me. The manager's one-line reply is, as long as you are hitting your targets, I don't care. Point blank. As long as you are reaching your targets, this is none of my business. So you please take care of yourself. And of course, now he has come back and he's given up alcohol. But again, it's just about meeting the targets for most organizations. A funny example I'll share with you now. So, an employee is to get married and he applies for leave because he is getting married. The manager says, you did not take my permission. So far my understanding was that when two people are getting married, they should agree. In the Indian society, the families should agree. Now we have another layer where the manager should agree. Right? And of course, there are a lot of other examples you can see on the internet as well about these aspects. So, laying off is of course an extreme step for any organization as well as for people, but people are undergoing day-to-day stressors in organizations. So, for example, endless meetings, fruitless meetings which go on and on for hours without any output, deadlines, end of the day. And many a times we would have heard people saying that my manager would give me a task to do, say for example, if your office ends at 5 o'clock, then the manager gives you work at 4:45. and knows that you cannot do it in the next 15 minutes. So either you end up staying more or you do it later. Multitasking. Even before you can focus on a particular task, there are notifications, there are emails, there are phone calls related to work, there are people walking in. So lot of interruptions that don't let us maintain our cognitive abilities at work. And of course, we are all stressed because of multiple things, but one thing which has become predominant today is techno stress. This expectation that we need to be connected to technology 24/7, 365 days a year. Right? So this is one very common expectation from organizations that we are sending you an email after working hours or a WhatsApp message, and then people are kind of under a psychological contract that they need to reply to that particular email or the message immediately as they have received. So techno stress is also becoming an extremely important part of our lives today, but of course it is something that we need to avoid a lot. And this vacation guilt, most of us, before we go on vacation, we overwork. When we come back from vacation, we overwork. Right? And some of us, including me, I am giving a talk over here, but my family knows, including me, thanks to WhatsApp and emails and everything available in our smartphones, we are connected to work even on vacations. Right? So I wonder, what is this concept of work-life balance? HR, I don't know from where they get all these concepts and jargons. Work-life balance. Is there anything like work-life balance? I think it's a lie. It's an absolute lie. There is practically nothing called as work-life balance. We should know how can we integrate work and life well. Right? That's all what we can do. And in India, of course, this is more as compared to some of the other nations, because for us work is worship. Right? And that is leading organizations and managers to get into such a toxic culture. And there is a lot of lack of empathy among people. Somebody whom I know was undergoing a very traumatic phase of divorce in her life. And she was taking leave from work because she had to go to the lawyer, she had to go to the courts and so on. So many procedures were there. She was on loss of pay. It's not that the organization was doing her a favor by paying her for her distress, right, even when she was not working. But what was more hurtful for her was the fact that her co-workers, her peers, were not supportive. Anyway, she was going through a stressful time, right? She was on loss of pay. On top of that, people talking that everybody has problems in their lives. What is the big deal if she is going through this, right? Unfortunately, people in our family or near circle are no more, right? Bereavement. So these are some of the times when people can be more empathetic towards their co-workers and peers, but just because they are treated as resources, right? People lack empathy. So one person said, I am not going to send her a condolence message because she did not tell me directly that her mother passed away. These are all verbatim, I am telling you. Office politics and gossips, right? So we are all in a rush to move up the corporate ladder and do better things in our life and so on, right? But do it the right way. Do it with your potential and with your performance, not by pulling others down, by gossiping and spreading rumors. And also, information is power in today's organizations. Right? So a lot of people, they don't share, they purposefully withhold information. They purposefully withhold information and data so that others do not get leverage and others don't get promoted. Right? So a lot of politics also in organizations. This is something which I always feel when we ask somebody, how are you? When we ask somebody, how are you? Are we ready to hear their response? Oh, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. And we all know that the next conversation is about a work that is there at the background, right? It's not about how are you, most of the times, right? When we say how are you actually ready to lend your ears, listen to the person if the person is going through any pain or struggle in the life? 99.9% no. Forget pains and struggles. When you say how are you, and if the person has got anything positive, let's say we don't want to talk to negative people, no negativity around, let's only talk about optimism, right? So somebody shares with you some positive thing that has happened in their life. In organizations, that leads to professional jealousy. How can this person do so well? Despite having challenges in their life, this person is doing well. How is that possible? Right? So a lot of these things are daily stressors for people. And then a person, an American psychologist called Daniel Goleman, came and said, forget about IQ, talk about EQ, emotional quotient, right? Emotional intelligence. So we'll all become emotional intelligent people. So give my employees workshops on emotional intelligence, because they should know how to handle situations in the organizations better, right? One is, of course, you are stepping into the organization, leave your emotions outside. Even if you are bringing them inside as a baggage, please come for a workshop on emotional intelligence. Be mindful, meditation apps available for meditation, yoga rooms, fitness centers, right? Lot of things are available in my organization. But give me the ROI. Is there a return on investment? So now as a manager, I have given a workshop on emotional intelligence, but I will still hurl you with lot of work, dump you with work, and use inappropriate language to talk to you. Still, you should be emotionally intelligent because you have attended a workshop on EI. And I need to show my top management that there is a return on investment. Of course, any workshop will incur money, right? And also, it's a checklist event, right? For many organizations, I have conducted a workshop on emotional intelligence, tick. I did a mindfulness exercise for my employees, tick, right? I have 2 treadmills in my organization, tick, right? So, a lot of things are there. Return on investment. Now, all of this put together leads us to some situations of people committing suicide or dying because of overwork. And I think this death of the worker, the employee, very young employee, 26 years at EY, a big consulting firm, came into limelight because of overwork, she says. Right, very unfortunate. So according to a survey by the Society of Human Resources Management, SHRM, it's a global organization, they say that 45% of employees in India dread going to work due to poor workplace culture. They are saying poor, I will say toxic workplace culture, right? And 42% of workers globally have witnessed that their managers have done an inconsiderate or an insensitive treatment towards their employees in front of somebody else. Another survey, very popular, called as Gallup. Gallup came up with an employee engagement survey, which has very simple, which has a very simple 12 questions which measure employee engagement, right? And this report says global employee engagement declined to 21% in 2024. And 30% of employees have reported in India that they're experiencing stress every day, right? And this is a silent storm for organizations. Employee engagement in India is just 30%, whereas 49% of employees in organizations are actively looking out for work. Imagine 50% of your workforce wants to go and work somewhere else, given a good chance. Only 14% of employees have reported thriving in India. So let me tell you, there are 3 categories of employee well-being according to Gallup. They have 3 categories: thriving, struggling, and suffering. Okay, thriving, struggling, and suffering. So in India, only 14% of people are thriving at work, which means that they love to go to work. They are looking forward to going to work every day, right? Whereas the remaining 86% are either struggling or suffering at work, right? And this is very shocking because globally the thriving percentage is 34%. Globally it is 34%, but for India it's only 14%. And so what, people are not engaged at work? Losses due to disengagement are equal to $438 billion. If people are not engaged, if people are not happy at work, then the losses organizations are incurring is up to $438 billion. So, disengaged workforce, for the organizations that care about profit, disengaged workforce is not just a people issue, it is also a profit issue, right? So if people's morale is too high, it is a way of informing human resources that you are overpaid. Business tycoon, person of very, very high intelligence, Tesla, SpaceX, AI of all the world, Mr. Elon Musk, when he acquired Twitter, within a few days and few months of acquiring Twitter, which is now called as X, he fired 85% of the workforce of Twitter, 85%, right? And before him, the culture of Twitter was of collaboration, transparency, openness, and so on. But after he took over, it became of fear, mistrust, and harassment. And he sent an email to all his employees that within the next 24 hours, you need to reply. And the email subject line was very nice. It was called as fork in the road. Right? It's called a fork in the road because he gave two options to employees. Answer within the next 24 hours whether you want to choose between hardcore work or work-life balance. Only two options. Choose between hardcore work or work-life balance. Employees who chose work-life balance were fired. Employees who did not reply, he assumed that they wanted work-life balance, therefore they were fired. So only the people who replied to his email and said hardcore work were retained. And now the problem is that Twitter was not doing well after all of the people were fired. They were not doing well. Even Elon Musk said that the goals are not being met and the company is not doing well. The users are going to other competitors and so on. But it was more hurtful because 2,000 people who filed a lawsuit because they were fired in a wrong manner, the amount of money that Twitter was spending, Twitter/X was spending on the lawsuits was double the amount they would have actually paid these employees if they had retained them. Right? So people who are organizations who are talking about making profits are actually incurring losses by engaging into such activities. And when he became a very good friend of President Donald Trump, so what happened was Donald Trump, he announced that he is going to lay off 3 lakh people in the federal services. 3 lakh people he is going to lay off. So because again Musk and Trump were very good friends at that point in time, so the subject line remained the same, fork in the road, but this time the audience was different. It was not Twitter, it was the US federal employees. And they have a very nice way of showing that people are resigning. If you don't choose between the two options I gave you, you are resigning. I am not asking you to go away from my company, right? So kind of trying to pass the buck to the employees. I gave you a choice. You chose this, right? And similar thing was done in the US. Of course, it faced a lot of retaliation. A lot of people felt bad that they are in federal services, but they are not being treated well and so on. Yeah. And of course, recently we saw that this federal shutdown had happened in the US. So about 14 lakh of federal employees were either temporarily asked to go away without being paid, or they were working without getting the payment. US has been a proponent when it comes to diversity, equity and inclusion. My thesis is on diversity and inclusion, and most of the literature that I would have referred to dating back from 1980s is largely set in the US context or the European context. In India, of course, we are inherently diverse, but we forgot about the diversity in terms of academic research, I am saying. So US, all of a sudden now under President Donald Trump says, no DEI. We will terminate every diversity, equity, inclusion program under the entire federal government. This came as a major shock, not just to the people in the US, but also across the globe. Right? And when we are talking about diversity, we are not saying that you have quota system or reservation. It's about giving equal opportunity to people who are different. People who are different from others, which may include people of different genders or people with disabilities. In the US, of course, we have people of various races and ethnicity. When we talk about India, we are different in terms of religion or language or the place where we come from and so on. So it's not about providing reservation or quota, but the DEI programs which were so popular, and US was a pioneer in that, they immediately said cut down. In a country like US, saying that we will have only 2 genders was unthinkable. Right? Very recently in India we started talking about third gender. Right? After 2014-15, when the Supreme Court gave the judgment for transgenders, when they acknowledged that transgenders are also there in the society. And now a country like US saying no DEI. Now what is the impact of that on organizations? Big organizations that used to talk so much about DEI have programs, have initiatives, have awareness, sensitivity related to diversity, equity and inclusion, including Google, Meta, Microsoft. They became quiet on DEI all of a sudden, absolutely like having no conscience, which led to a lot of workforce leaving, who were people who were different, because there was no scholarship left for them. They were not given any opportunities. But there are other companies who said we will continue to publish our DEI related whatever they used to tell in their annual reports, we will continue to publish. Now this has a major impact. One federal decision has a major impact on organizations in US, and many of these organizations exist in India. Right? So that's the reason it becomes important for us. When we talk about DEI in India, Kerala is one place which became a pioneer in 2017. The Kerala Kochi Metro Rail Limited, they hired about I think 23 transgenders, and this was the first initiative in the country to hire transgenders in order to remove the social stigma that exists for transgenders. But the problem is that it was a very, very nice initiative by the government, but they were not prepared how to implement it. Right? So the transgenders did not have a place to stay, no accommodation for them. Many of them ended up sleeping on the footpath. Nobody would agree to keep transgenders as a paying guest in their house, right? So they had no place to stay. Also, there was a lot of inhumane treatment, right? For these 23 transgenders, there was no toilet, a very, very basic requirement of a human being. There was no toilet. They were given one toilet after a lot of hue and cry, which was the toilet for physically challenged people. And the key of that toilet was with the station master. So each time a person had to use the washroom, had to go and beg for the key from the station master. So this was the condition. Obviously it led to them going back to their pavilion. Right? So DEI efforts, which are very good in terms of the idea, if the mindset of others is not ready for that, it often ends up as a backlash. In fact, this was called more like a marketing gimmick by the transgender community. Very recently, there was an outrage at Maharshi Dayanand University, where some female workers were not able to perform to the best of their capacity on a particular day, and when they were asked, they said, "We are not well." Right? Still talking about periods is a taboo in India. Right? So they said, "We are not well, so we are not able to work properly today." When they were forced to work, why are you not working properly? They said, "We are having our periods, we are menstruating, so we are not in the best of our health." So 3 people were booked for sexual harassment because they were asked to send pictures to prove that they were menstruating. Right? Recently this became a big case. So when we're talking about diversity, equity and inclusion, when we're talking about a workforce, of course, we have to be ready to become inclusive in all aspects, right? It's not just about hiring, but how do we prepare the mindset of the people in the entire organization so that they are including the workforce. I'm sure you all have heard about this statement by Mr. Narayan Murthy, 70 hours of work. Indian youth must spend 70 hours working, right? And followed by that was another statement by the chairman of L&T, Mr. Subramaniam, who said that Indian youth should work for 90 hours, and if possible, I would have made them work on Sunday. I also come to office on Sunday. So what do they do at home at all? What is it that they do, right? And this is one statement he made, a very gender biased statement. How long will you stare at your wife? Right? To which, of course, our netizens who are very creative trolled him and said, if I don't stare at my wife, she will stare at someone else. Right? And very surprisingly, there is a report by ILO which shows that Indians are working 2,000 hours more every year as compared to countries like US and Germany. We work for 2,000 hours more, and then we have business tycoons telling us to work even more than that, right? So do people deserve to be treated better? When I spoke about DEI, do people should we treat people better in organizations? And should productivity be equated to the number of hours that are clocked? Obviously, the answer is no. And we talk about the triple bottom line. A person called John Ellington, he came up with this concept of triple bottom line, and he said that for a sustainable future, all 3 must be in balance. Any organization must balance people, planet and profit. And I think if we do that, then only we can think about Vikasit Bharat or trying to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So there are a lot of research studies that prove that if people are happy at work, then they are 3 times more productive, they are 3 times more creative and 10 times more engaged at work, and their healthcare cost goes down by 40%. Now all of this, if you take care of people, it is actually contributing to the profits of the company. Right? If people are more creative at work, if they are more engaged, if they are more productive, if their healthcare cost is low, it is obviously profit for the company. But that aspect, somehow organizations don't focus on. Okay, quick quiz. Which company's logo is this? You don't answer. Which company's logo is this? Microsoft. Very good. We are all using Microsoft a lot every day. Right, so Microsoft's benefits are some things like this, and all of this is taken from the website. So they say we focus on employees' health, we plan for their future, we give them a lot of perks, they can take time off for vacation, they can take care of their family, they can continue with their education, you can get Microsoft products at a discount, and you can also join any community for service. So these are some of the best practices that many organizations are following. Google is again one organization which is very famous for having lot of facilities such as on-site fitness centers, healthy meals. So they say that their plate size is 8-inch, and this was an experiment done at Google, where initially there's a lot of free food at Google. At every 150 feet, people have food available, right? So that's a major perk of being at Google. So what they did was their plate size was 12 inches previously, and they found that when employees eat more, they tend to be lethargic and less productive, and also complementing with that, they have nap pods at Google, right? So people were eating, they were lethargic, they were less productive, they were sleeping more, so they reduced the plate size to 8-inch, and then they found that people were more productive, right? I would like to highlight here the 20% time, the last point over here. So Google has this, out of 5 days, 1 day you can take off completely for a different task, not related to your work, right? And they call it as slack time or 20% time, and they still follow it. Now, some of the very good things that we use on a day-to-day basis from Google are a product of this experimentation. For example, AdSense or Google News. Some even say that Gmail is a product of this 20% of slack time. Zappos is another company which focuses on keeping employees happy, because they say that if employees are happy, my customers are going to be happy. A lot of autonomy, if people are given, then they tend to be happy. So they also have this culture where in their offices they will decorate every month with a different theme. Zappos has also got one thing very interesting. They give $3,000 to people to leave the company. They say if you don't fit into Zappos culture, which is more of experiment and fun, we will give you $3,000 to leave the company, right? Again, IKEA is a very well-known brand for us, right? So they also do a lot of creative things in terms of they brought about musical talent from across the globe, and they created a symphony which is played in IKEA stores many a times if we visit. What is this icon? Okay, good. So they also have this 10% of hack time, which is for experimentation. And they also have this thing called fail ficas, wherein people are encouraged to come together and talk about failures. Not celebrating success, but talking about failures so that they can learn from the failures. Netflix. Right, so Netflix also has very good policies, many of them, but I'd like to share one of those which is about supporting family forming. Now, this is observed across the globe that because people have dual careers now, men in the family are also working, women are also working, so they don't want to have children, right? So Netflix is encouraging its employees that if you want to have children, we have policies to support you in that aspect. Another thing is ride-share cars. Again, that is for environmental sustainability. So one is you don't get tired while commuting from home to work and back. We'll give you a ride car facility. Salesforce is another company. I think, yeah, quickly I'll just skip this for paucity of time. Adobe has a listening culture, and they very proudly say that whatever feedback we get from employees, we implement it also. Right, and they have wellness reimbursement up to 50,000 rupees per year per employee. Marriott says that anything that they do, the first question they ask is, how will this decision affect my people? And this is one question they ask for any policy decision that they make. Some Indian companies, for example, ITC, Marico, and they all follow about, now it's becoming very popular, right, hybrid culture. So previously work from home used to be a privilege. Then COVID-19 made work from home a mass scale experiment across the globe. And then companies found that it is working well both for companies as well as for the employees. But then there was a lack of organizational culture. People were not feeling connected to each other. There was lack of collaboration. Miscommunication was happening because people were not coming to office. So let's say now come to office 2 days a week. or 3 days a week, which is called as hybrid culture. So a lot of organizations are following that now. While Narayan Murthy is saying that people should work for 70 hours per week, Infosys sends out a warning mail to all its employees once they have clocked in 9 hours and 15 minutes, stating that it is time for them to shut down the system and not work anymore. So these are some of the examples of corporates related to taking care of the well-being of their employees. This is an advertisement which my husband had shared. This is in a academic institute in Germany about their recruitment advertisement, wherein if you look at, this is half of the screenshot of that letter, and in this half you can see a lot of things which is focusing on the positive aspects. Flexible working conditions, 30 vacation days, family friendly policies, fitness facilities, health promotion. And look at this paragraph, this one. It talks about hiring diverse set of people, inclusion, right? We encourage female and international researchers to apply for this position, right? So many organizations are doing it in a very explicit manner when they want to hire different kind of people. Even people with disabilities, they are encouraging to apply. So these are very positive aspects. So there's a global shift to a 4-day work week, right? Imagine having Friday, Saturday, Sunday off instead of 2 days, right? And this is called as 100-80-100 model, where you will be paid 100% of the salary, but you work 80% of the time. And they have found, a lot of studies have found that the productivity is actually 100%. So it's not that if you are spending more time at work, you are delivering 100%. Smarter work and more focused work can also deliver the same amount of productivity. There are some countries which have already experimented and found this, that lesser hours of work is leading to more productivity. The first being Iceland, wherein this experiment was done, and they also found that the GDP of the country was not suffering because of lesser number of hours of work. Belgium also became one of the first European countries to pass a law for 4 weeks, but of course in Belgium it is mutually, the employer as well as the employee must mutually decide that they are going to get into this kind of an agreement, and they have right to disconnect after the work hours. So employees can disconnect from work without having that guilt feeling that I am not responding to my boss or to my manager. Germany also did this. Denmark also has, I went for a conference to Denmark, so I've put this picture. Their average week is already 37 hours, and I think my husband will also agree with me. We lived in Germany, and Friday afternoon onwards, they used to say schönes Wochenende, have a nice weekend. Friday afternoon onwards, right? Of course, that is all about European culture. European countries, we can say it's popular over there, but what about the Asian countries? So Japan in April 2025 also said they will implement 4-day work week, but for Japan the reasons were different. It was because of the demographic crisis that Japan is going through, a rapidly aging population and very low birth rate in Japan. So that is the reason they said we are going to have more family friendly policies for employees so that they are able to come to work. Recently you may have also heard about one bill being passed in Kerala, which is right to disconnect. But there is, of course, it has received a lot of positivity, but some people are also saying that industries will move out of Kerala. So this is going to work only if this is implemented across India and not in just one state. So today's employees are looking for flexibility over freebies, right? Freedom to manage my work in the way I want. If I don't want to commute to my office because of traffic, I should have the flexibility to work from home. If I want to have a long break during Diwali or during Ramzan, let me have that rather than having a long Christmas break which aligns with the US and UK policies, right? attending a school meeting, or taking care of their parents when they are sick. So, is it nice to have, or in present situation non-negotiable? Employees don't want to be called a resource. They want to have employee experience, which is end-to-end from the time an organization attracts them till the time they exit from the organization, all the positive experiences, autonomy in the way they want to work, how they want to work, trust, transparent reward structure, inclusion. They want investment in skilling, right? They want organizations to invest in their development, have empathetic dialogues, respectful offboarding, right? So a lot of organizations also have what is called as outplacement services. I am laying you off, I am terminating you for a reason, but I am also providing you options of where you can apply next. And today's generation focuses a lot on ethics and sustainability. I have heard some of my students saying, I will not join this organization because they are either not ethical or they are not sustainable. So the people, planet and profit, the triple bottom line, I think the current generation, which we call as Gen Z or even Gen Alpha maybe, they are looking a lot on ethics and sustainability. So some food for thought. I told you about negative things of an organization. I also told you about positive aspects, best practices. But the question is, organizations like Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, TCS, Infosys, which are so well known for their culture as well as practices, have recently laid off thousands of people, right? So if you look at any company's website, they will only show smiling faces, people who are very happy at workplace. But does that give us the true picture? There is a very popular survey called as a Great Place to Work, GPTW, and many organizations aim to get a GPTW certification. But and all of these organizations which are listed here on the line 1 are GPTW certified. So can we truly believe these surveys? If we take inspiration from European nations, is a 4-day work model possible in India? If treating people well is equal to earning profits, if treating people well is equal to earning profits, if this equation is so simple, then why can't all companies follow? Right? So with all of these thoughts, I circle back to the question with which I started. Are humans a resource? And the debate is still open. Thank you.
If you got any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Now, I think I would love to hear from the audience what is their view. Are humans a resource? What do they think?
You said PPP, people, planet
and profit.
I have studied as people, products and then profit.
Because you are in marketing.
No, I'm not in marketing. I've just read it before somewhere.
Okay.
But what is the solution?
That the audience has to tell.
You would have been consulting with a lot of human resources in various companies. So what will be your advice to the HR department of any company?
If at all, are there any people from HR here in the audience? Or someone who's working in the corporate sector? So definitely, like I said, in the organizations, people are not having empathy. It's all about targets and meeting your deadlines and targets. That's all.
No, growth for just the sake of growth is similar to a cancer cell, correct?
Yes.
Cancer also operates on that principle only.
That's the thing. So if we don't focus on people, if we don't focus on their upskilling, if we don't invest in the people in the right way, then it's just about profit maximization. And that is unfortunately going to have a lot of impact on not just people but also the planet. Now for any small thing we are using AI. Just to give you an example, For anything, especially the current generation, just without even applying their brain, they go on to AI. And already the data centers across the world have added to 3% of carbon emission currently. So if at that rate, if we keep on using AI, imagine if the planet doesn't exist, forget about the people and the profits. So somewhere we need to strike a balance among all of these three aspects. And the talk of sustainability, the UN sustainable goals, I think they don't remain in paper now. Especially the current generation is talking a lot about sustainability. So we somehow have to balance this equation.
Narayanamurthy said 996, 9 hours a day and 6 days a week. From 9 to 9, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. It's not 70, it was 81. Just saying. Now, yeah, see, Mr. Pai, who is taken over, I think, from Infosys, Narayanamurthy, had clarified, I think, yesterday, saying that it is only for the founders, not for employees. Suddenly he switched to
so
saying that it is only for the founders and not for the employees.
He said that he said that in a way he is motivating the youth of the country. So let's not take it in a wrong manner. If at all we are to defend Mr. Narayanamurthy, he said it is for the youth of the country to work so hard so that the country develops.
Actually, any entrepreneur like me, I have been an entrepreneur. I've worked for more time actually, 100 hours.
Absolutely.
But it should be at par. That is, the salaries should be at par with the number of hours worked. I think people don't do that. I think
and it's not just about the salary, it's also about, if we are talking like that, it has to be holistic, right? Salary is just one component of this equation. But if you want us to work more, then in that case, be empathetic towards me. If I have a problem, at that time, don't say that it's none of my business, right? So it's okay to work for an organization for longer hours if that person has the bandwidth to. That is point number one. Not everybody can do that. If we have our families, if somebody is single, they may work for longer hours. That's different. If I have the bandwidth to work, if I want to work, I can. And you are giving me the required amount of pay also, fine. But if I am in a situation where I need support from the organization, at that point, I don't want monetary support from the organization. I'm also expecting, when they say, it's a family. Many organizations say, we are part of a family. But do you let go of people in a family? Not generally.
That is hypocrisy.
Thank you, Dr. Akansha. Thank you, Dr. Akansha. That was a very enlightening session.
Thank you.
So much of information, right? Thank you so much for that at the outset. I'm very excited about this right to disconnect law or rule that you spoke about, because I like that very much, right? No after office hours, no ping, no message, nothing, right? I'm playing devil's advocate here. What if organizations put that back on us? No receiving calls during office hours. Now for women like me, that would be very detrimental, because I can tell my daughter, you can contact me except for my lecture hours. You can contact me anytime if there is an emergency or something like that. So treat me like I'm playing devil's advocate. But what if organizations, when that becomes legal, aren't organizations going to say then you're not going to have to pick up calls from your family no matter what kind of emergency that is?
Yeah, absolutely. That is also possible. I don't know how to answer that question though, but there are a lot of things that, for instance, places like Google are setting up an entire ecosystem where you don't have to step out of Google for anything. Whether it is a haircut, it's available inside Google. It is pet care, it's available inside Google. It's a creche facility, it's all available. Of course, if we have children who are big enough, we can't put them inside. But yeah, that's possible, very much. You are right. And why just receiving a call? You are into IT. We know our IT systems are being tracked all the time. Right? So organizations have that capability. Many organizations started giving wearables to their employees as gifts. right? Initially they were gifts, but were they being used as trackers for employees to see that, madam, you are in AI, AI surveillance. How many times an employee has left the seat to go to the washroom, or how many times an employee has got up from their seat to talk to a co-worker? Everything is being tracked. Even before AI. Yeah, before AI. So of course those things are there, definitely possible.
Daniel Goleman's EQ has come into picture, and a lot of companies follow this emotional intelligence and all. I would add that SQ and two SQs, that is spiritual quotient,
Yes.
as well as social quotient,
Yes.
and adversity quotient also, I think, has to be thought to a lot of, that is to everyone in fact.
Yes, in
Spiritual
fact,
quotient will help actually how to
Sure.
take care of the failures, as you were saying some time ago, that failures they discuss in open forums. And
many
all.
organizations who are mostly into innovation, they encourage a lot of failures being discussed, so that, one, of course, we learn from each other's failures, in order to encourage experimentation. Because if we don't celebrate failures, then people will not experiment, and if experiments don't happen, they will not innovate. If they don't innovate, disruption will not happen. So there are a lot of organizations which are open for discussions on failure. Out of 100 projects, only one will succeed. But let's talk about the other 99. So SQ, as you said, is already a part of EQ. In Daniel Goleman's framework, there is already a component of social awareness. Self-awareness, self-regulation, also social awareness. But spiritual, yes,
quotient,
absolutely.
Yeah. That
spiritual.
helps actually. That could
It
be
does.
the denominator,
It
and
does.
all the other things could
Yeah.
be a numerator.
And
actually.
organizations are conducting sessions on mindfulness, on meditation, and so on. I'm not saying it's a wrong thing, and they should demand ROI out of it. Why not? They should check whether whatever initiative I have done, whatever workshop I have conducted, is it useful for my people or not? They must check that. Problem happens is when they do it as a checklist event. If you are talking of mindfulness, let your people be mindful 365 days, not one day in a year.
I think we are talking about humanness. I think that's
Yes,
the factor.
yes.
I think.
So I was laid off. Then another person was recruited, but sadly, due to the management pressure and everything, she committed suicide.
Oh my God.
The same school came back to me, and it's sad to say that I'm working for the same school today. But somewhere, it just felt that they were the ones who laid me off.
Yeah.
But then I was used as a resource. I was
Yes.
still there, and I'm still there. You see, now they're able to take me. The same question was not there. The whole emotional trauma and everything which I went through, which was because it was a sudden layoff.
Termination.
You see, termination, and it was unexpected. I mean, today it is okay because I'm just for running.
Thank you for sharing your story, and I'm glad that you were said during your layoff that you don't know mathematics. It doesn't make sense, right? So among the US federal employees also, the people who were laid off were told that your performance was not up to the mark, and they had proofs to show that 3 months back when my appraisal was done, I got a 5 on 5 rating, right? And some of them were told that you are not skilled enough. They have a good performance rating 3 months back, but some kind of useless reasons were given to lay off people, which are absolutely not connected, and that makes us to think that are we really resources or are we humans? So one question that I have for the audience is, can we rename human resources?
Human experience is something you said something.
Yes, ma'am.
There are some evolutionary biologists
Yes.
came up with names, generic names, specific names. Homo sapiens.
Yes.
The non-thinking man, Homo sapiens, the intelligent man. So maybe you should say Homo resourcian. Now one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, another very famous evolutionary biologist, Huxley, long time ago, in one of his essays he wrote, with the advent of the human on the evolutionary stage, all organic evolution has come to a standstill. what is taking place is psychosocial evolution. With the advent of AI on the evolutionary stage, what is happening is a kind of a toxic technological evolution. Maybe it will pass. We have to come to terms with it, work together to make, very constructive, dynamic, democratic changes so that it will change for the better for us.
Sure. Thank you for sharing.
Are there any questions? Fantastic. As a token of gratitude, as a token of appreciation, I would like to call upon Maria to hand over a small memento to Akansha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. With this, the session is closed. Thank you so much for all.